Good afternoon, everyone. Next to me, as was just mentioned a short while ago, a man who needs no introduction, 100 plus caps for the Indian team, 40 plus international goals, the second highest in the history of Indian football. Arguably the greatest footballer to have played for India. Let's have another round of applause for Bhaichung Bhutia. Bhaichung, always a pleasure to talk to you. We go back a long way. First thing, how does it feel to be in a hot and humid Delhi from fine, balmy Sikkim, where it must be, what, 20, 22 degrees? How does it feel to be in a city that you visit very often?
It feels great because I think I've had wonderful memories in Delhi when I played here. Obviously, when you speak of football, my football school's headquarters is based in Delhi. So I keep coming to Delhi quite often. And my kids are studying in Gurgaon, so we have a house here. So Delhi is like a second home.
If Delhi is second home, you should have continued with politics as well. Why have you quit politics?
No, I think I had my share of politics, and now it's been almost a year and a half. I've quit, very happy. I think something which I've tried, and I feel that it's time to really move on and do something in other sectors, and which I think I'm very, very happy right now. So yeah, politics is always there, and politics obviously is in every sector of it, whether it's tourism, football, education, politics is going to come in. But I think it's very important for a lot of sports person to come into politics, because I keep saying this because I think every success for all the sports person is through their own dedication, sincerity and discipline. I think if that kind of discipline, sincerity and honesty for their success that they've achieved in sports, they can bring into politics, I think India and Sikkim and Northeast would really do well. And I hope a lot of sports person comes into it. I know that cricketers are never going to come in because I think they've had share of their success, so they don't want to come into it. But I think it's very important for them to come in, because through politics, policies are made for every sector, including sports. So once you have right policies in sports, I think India can become one of the most strong sporting nation, which we are trying. And now Honorable Prime Minister and Government of India is trying to host Olympics in near future. And that's where I think we need to really make sure that we develop and produce a lot of sports person that goes on to win Olympic medals.
You summed it up so well. So I hope you're not retired from politics permanently. There's no retirement age.
You never know.
You never know. Okay, so that door is open, because like he says, you need good people in politics. I hope, like a true fighter that you were on the football field, you continue to fight here, get back into politics. Okay, I want to talk to you about a lot of things, about Sikkim, of course, about sports in Sikkim, and also the general health of Indian football, which at the moment doesn't seem very good. But let's start with Sikkim. Very interesting that I don't want to reveal his age, but it's available on internet. He is the same age as the state of Sikkim. So that's incredible. Were you the first one in your family to be born in India?
So, yeah, I think I was the first child to be born as an Indian. And all my elder brothers and sister and my, obviously, family, a lot of people from Sikkim would identify. So I'm very, very proud Indian. I was born as an Indian, so I'm very proud Indian. But yes, growing up days as a child, it was very different, because you hear stories of father because, they just lost the country. So growing up days for me was a different story of India then, because obviously they had a sentiment for, he was a pro-king thing, and that just lost the country. And also, I got to hear a lot of stories within our village as well. There's a lot of riots that happened. I think my grandfather's house was burned. His house was looted. So there are a lot of negativity stories growing up. But I think over 50 years, things have changed. I think we've progressed so much. We've been one of the most peaceful state. We've been one of the most productive state. And for me, I feel very proud to be an Indian. And now I've got kids, so they get to hear a lot of good stories, our Indian success stories. And I'm very happy when I speak to my kids. They're just teenagers now. And I would want them to be sports person, go on to play for India. If not, even they can go on to become, in Air Force like their grandfathers. So very proud Indian. But yes, growing up, listening to a lot of stories through my father, I think I had a very different picture. But I think life has to move on. And everybody now, I think in Sikkim, all the Sikkimese people, are, I think, very proud to be part of India, and we progress and develop so much.
Right. So you're actually the perfect example of that transition. Bhaichung himself, he's seen it from his father to himself and now his son as well. I'll get to sport. That's your forte. Northeast per se overall has been that region in India that's contributed immensely to sports in India. Where do you see Sikkim's contribution? Because you've got other states, neighboring states, that on the face of it seem to have done better. You've got Manipur and Assam that has a rich legacy. Of course, Sikkim has produced footballers and boxers, but where do you see the future of sports in Sikkim?
No, I think for us, Manipur sets up such a high standard for all the other northeastern states to catch up. But I think Sikkim over the years have always contributed for sports in India in a smaller way, but there has always been, especially in football. If you look at from the 70s, I think we had Jerry Basi that went on to play for India. Then 80s, 90s, we had Pem Dorji. Then I played for quite some time. And now if you look at the current generation of Indian players from Sikkim, we've got Ashish Rai, we've got Lachenpa playing. So that contribution has always been there in football. Just not football as well, in other sports, like we've got Tarundeep, who's an archer, Olympian. He's been, last Olympics, he was part of the Olympic team in archery, in Asian Games as well. So there has always been a contribution for sports in a smaller way when you compare with other Northeast, especially Manipur. Obviously, we've got a long way to catch. But I feel that there's always scope for us to improve, and there is potentials. But yes, we'll have to do a lot of work.
See, the simple question is, and I'm talking as an Indian, even when I was coming in, everyone's asking me, why can't Sikkim give us 10, 11 Bhaichung Bhutias? That's what we need at the moment.
I think it's possible, I think. But yes, again, if you look at Sikkim, sports is very, very popular, especially football. And I don't know, you should visit Sikkim during 15th August time, and a lot of people are here from Sikkim. Every village, every corner of Sikkim, there is a football tournament along cultural event going on. So a lot of the village people even would not know what is 15 August, but they know that it's a football and a cultural thing. So for us, I think in Sikkim, what is happening with a lot of our sporting events, we are celebrating as a festival because that becomes a festival, 10-day festival. We have Governor's Gold Cup. All of us look at as a big festival, football plus cultural thing. But it's important at the same time, with the festival, the popularity is very important. But at the same time, parallelly, we should make sure that there's a development program going on as well. So 10 days of 15 August of culture and football, after that, nothing happens. We need to look into grassroots to make sure that they're playing every week, competing every week, which is more to copy from a European football structure, sports structure, so that the grassroots football or any other sports, there are kids competing, training every week. Every weekend they're competing and competing. Through the weekdays they're training. And it's just not for Sikkim, but I think overall, if you look at football culture in India, I think that is the system we need to bring in. But unfortunately, I think I'm with Federation, I'm in executive committee meeting through elite sports person. The difficult and sad part and the sad reality is I think we need to still make sure that we have Vision 2047, but just keeping it Vision 2047 in paper is not going to work. The work has to be done in the grassroots level. So I think that is where, and it's not very costly at all. It's just making sure that you're organized, because every school, every government has got sports department, they've got physical teachers, physical education teachers there. So it's just about organizing and making sure that the grassroots kids are getting to play every weekend within their own villages, and maybe twice a week they're training through one of those physical education teachers, so that the process is not just for 10 days of competition, finish it. And you need to have a longer period. That's what exactly a lot of community works are done in Europe, and that's where a lot of players are produced for a lot of big clubs.
Okay, because you touch upon Indian football, and that's also an area of interest that I want to speak to you about. I'll get back to grassroots, I'll get back to Sikkim. You talk about Indian football having a Vision 2047. It's been more than 2 decades I've covered Indian football. I remember Sepp Blatter, the FIFA president, come here in 2012, say India is a sleeping giant, and maybe 2024, 25 we'll be playing the FIFA World Cup. We are sitting in 2025, we're still sleeping. Are you worried about where Indian football is? Because that goalpost keeps getting shifted.
No, because I'm connected with football from grassroots to even, Right now, again with Federation, I had my own football club in Sikkim once upon a time, which is still there in a smaller level. And with Bhaichung Bhutia Football School, we are the biggest grassroots football program in India with more than 6,000 kids training every day. So yes, there is a worrying factor. I'm in the Federation, we obviously have a lot of debates and discussion. And sometimes it's very difficult to convince people within the Federation to really make sure that we need to make sure the football, in the grassroots is done seriously. But you try and put a lot of restrictions are something which is very, very difficult, which is not nice. First of all, to start an academy, they're asking you to get license to it, which is, we want kids, more and more kids to come and play. We want as many academies all across India to come and play. So if you put on restrictions at starting an academy, getting certificate to play, and then if your kid is from any other state, you can't play in that particular state, represent another state. So you're trying to cut down a lot of talent. And I'll give you a biggest example of a girls under 15 team. So I think a few years ago, Lakshadweep won the under 15 sub-junior girls championship. And the entire team of Lakshadweep were the girls from Haryana. So, the Haryana girls actually went on to play finals with them. So this remaining 20 girls, they were not selected, they were talented because the state had such a huge talent. So 20 players from Haryana were already selected. So the remaining girls, so they decided to go and play for Lakshadweep. And in that tournament, Lakshadweep played against Haryana and they went on to win. And some of the girls went on to play for India right now.
It's an incredible story.
Some of the girls went on to play for India right now. Now, when you come in the Federation and put restrictions saying that you are from Haryana, you are from Manipur, you can't represent certain state, then you're cutting out a lot of talent. Because if you look at Northeast today, we don't have great academies because a lot of the players have to come out of Northeast and play in academies in Delhi, Bombay or Bangalore. You've got Reliance academies, you've got, Tata Academy. So the Northeast states have challenges. It's very difficult to run a club and an academy because there's a huge cost. So when these kids, talented kids don't get that opportunity in Northeast or for example, Jharkhand, there's no football. Jharkhand today in sub-junior girls and boys, they have the maximum number of players playing for it. If they don't move out of Jharkhand and come and join Minerva's or Bhaichung Bhutia football academies or Sudeba's here in Delhi, then they don't get that platform. But then in Federation, if you try and cut that, saying that, no, you come from different state, you can't play, then you're losing out a lot of talent. So I think a lot of policies will have to be made so that, the talented kids, at least in the grassroots level, you give them that access to play. And not put restrictions on the kids. If you're talented, you're not from there to that, then you're trying to cut a lot of kids to stop playing football. So which is very, very unfortunate.
But the question is, you're part of the technical committee of All India Football Federation.
I'm not part of the technical committee. I was there. I've resigned because of certain things that
That's
I don't
what we don't want you to do
right now.
We don't want you to resign from politics or AIFF. How do we fix this issue?
No, again, see, everybody is aware that I fought an election for All India Football Federation. I wanted to fight it purposely because Kalyan, obviously, is a junior footballer than me. I know him very well. I purposely wanted to fight because if you look at Indian Football Federation elections, Mr. Das Munshi was there. He ran the federation for 25 years, no elections. After that, Mr. Praful Patel came in, 20 years, no elections. So for last 40 years, Indian football had never had an elections. We never knew who's there, who's coming in, what are the elections happening. Obviously, I'm not saying they didn't do bad. They did really well for football. Mr. Das Munshi really contributed so much. Mr. Praful, I think, has done so good for football, making it professionalism, brought ISL to it. I wanted to fight it. Obviously, I was fighting against the entire system to it. But it's important when you have a government backup or anything, you need to bring in the right people. The government obviously wants sports person to come into federation. We've got a Supreme Court case going on as well. And it's great to see that central government is pushing a lot of sports person to come into the federations and associations. But at the same time, when you back it up, you need to bring in players with that credibility, experience, to make sure that your sport or your association or your federation grows. I think with Kalyan, we obviously now a lot of people who's helped during that time in the government are regretting how disastrous it has been. From 95 ranking, we've gone on to 130. And I think it's been one after controversy or the other. So it's very unfortunate that's happened. And now here we are hearing that our national coach, who's just been put in for last 3 months, is planning to resign after certain matches, which is very, very unfortunate. So I think we need to get in right people. There are a lot of sports person who are great, who can help. And I strongly feel a lot of our iconic sports person have to speak out for the benefit of the sports. And I feel sad sometimes, people, great cricketers, I don't want to take the names out, but there have been a lot of things that they can contribute positively to speak out for the benefit of Indian sports. They choose to stay silent. And that is sometimes, which is not the right thing. So that's why for me, if I have to respect any sports person, and my idol would be Dhanraj Pillai, because I think he's been one of the legend. But at the same time, I've seen him play. I've been in the Asian Games camp with him. But whenever he felt that any sports, any hockey player or any other sports person has been getting injustice, I think he's always stood there and spoke about it. So I think that is what we need, because if the elite sports person who's seen the world, who's been to Olympics, who's been to Asian Games, who's have that experience, don't come back and speak and say we need this kind of changes for sports to grow, then who's going to speak? A village sports person who plays in a district or a village is never going to speak. So these guys will have to speak for the development, not to criticize the state or a department or a government, but for the positive changes. If these guys don't speak, who's going to speak and who's going to change Indian sports? And then we're always, after every Olympic, we're saying, kya ho gaya, ek hi medal jeeta, itna kam jeeta. I think that is where we need to change it.
I must compliment him at least for speaking out, because a lot of other sportsmen don't do that. I'll get back to the grassroots program, but before that, one final question on Indian football. Because most other sport, you see them progress. The state of Indian football has been such that we used to be sub-100 in the 90s when Bhaichung was playing. You've gone out of 100. The last time you were sub-100 in the ranking was 2017. You're sitting at 127. Most countries improve. We are only getting worse with time. The moot question is, will the people sitting here and you and I, in our lifetime, ever see India play a FIFA World Cup? Because we're going back, not forward.
You never know. I think in life, if North Korea could play FIFA World Cup, I'm sure India can. And good thing is, FIFA has increased the number of World Cup participating team from, I think, 32 to maybe 64. The difficult part for India was because Asia has got 60 plus country. We only get 4 quotas from Asia to qualify for the World Cup. And those 4 quotas are taken by Japan, Korea. Australia, by the way, plays in Asia for qualifying. So Australia takes one. So we've got only one left. That's always taken by Iran or Saudi. So it becomes impossible for a country like India, or even including China as well. China has been trying to play World Cup. They have not been able to play, because China today is the biggest investor in football in the world. The amount of investment they've done for the infrastructure, youth development is the highest in the world. They have not been able to play. So the competition levels are much, much more challenging. But yes, I think we need the right generation of players, 7, 8 of them to be born around the same time. We need our grassroots football program to be very, very strong, which the kids are getting to train every day, play every week, competing once in a while, and have good education program for the coaches. Because I feel one of the major challenges right now for Indian football is our coaches has to be educated and trained to coach those footballers. And that, I think, there is a still huge gap. And I know a lot of my friends have gone on degree in coaching, they've got A license, professional license. But a lot of them, when I speak to them, they're just trying to get the certificate. And which is very, very unfortunate. And they're trying to get from somebody easy, senior coaches, nahi iske saath karega to mera pass ho jayega, ye mere saath pehchanta hai. I think that is not your goal. I think you need to try and get trained and get certified from highest good quality trainer, instructor, so that you're learning. When you pass out, you're learning something and coming in, just not the certificate. So when you pass out, I think you need to pass out with good knowledge, just not get the certificate. So that's where I think coaches education program is another factor where we need to really work.
Is there a better chance, because I see a lot of women in our audience, is a better chance of the Indian women's team playing the World Cup ahead of the men's team?
Much better chance.
Wow.
I'll tell you why.
Maybe the ladies can show us the way.
No, again, it's the same thing. Again, for women's also, the number of teams have increased. Good thing with India is, one good thing is, if you look at men's, the Gulf countries dominate men's football. they own all the biggest club. PSG is bought by Sheikh from, Dubai. Qatar Airways have bought Man City. But when you look at the Gulf countries, women football is not big. But men's football, I think, is massive there. So one of the reasons why the competitions for women becomes obviously a little better and more opportunity and more chances is 20 odd countries, I think, would not even participate. But no doubt, but women football obviously in India is much better ranked than in men's football. But again, coming down to grassroots and the investment and the thing, we don't have a single women football academy. Bhaichung Bhutia Football Schools is the only one residential football academy for girls today in India. But we don't have for girls in that level who goes on to play for Indian Women League. So I think that is where we need to make sure that lot of federations, lot of academies will have to come and invest in girls football in that elite level, so that your coaches and your training and your competition level is much more higher. And I feel that women football has got much more better chance to play World Cup than men's football.
I mean, that's been the case of Indian sport for the last few years, is the women winning more medal at the Olympics as well. In terms of, you said grassroots is another thing that you have to concentrate on. You have to do a lot of things when it comes to coaching education. I know that you do a lot through your Bhaichung Bhutia football schools, pan-India, but focusing especially on Sikkim. What are the steps that you've taken as a sports person of repute to ensure that these little issues are sorted in the state of Sikkim at least?
I think in terms of Sikkim, because our geographical location, the landscape becomes very, very challenging to really start your own football academy. In fact, I've just bought 15-20 acres and we are setting up a nice sports excellence center in Siliguri. Now, to do that in Sikkim becomes very, very difficult, because first of all, to get that land, and then again, the investment in just making a football ground is huge. So the challenges in Sikkim to create infrastructure is very, very difficult. I think with Sikkim, I had United Sikkim Football Club. We were the second professional club from Northeast to qualify for I-League, which is the highest league in India. Lajong was the first one. And, through that, because those days ISL wasn't there, and I brought in investment, but it's very, very difficult to run a football club in that level to compete with best of East Bengals and Mohun Bagan, because we don't have corporates there. We don't have huge sponsors, corporates to sponsor the team. So I could only manage it for 3 years. And during that period, the budget of the club used to go around, because we were playing the highest league, competing with Mohun Bagan, East Bengal, and the big clubs around India. Our budget was around 3 to 4 CR, and obviously other big clubs were huge. Even to raise 3-4 CR for an entire 1 year was a nightmare for me to really do it. I did it for 4 years and then just could not sustain it. So that was one of the big challenges. So I think with Sikkim, what we can do is we can, have a great with government. I think has been doing promoting a lot of sports throughout. Our CM has been very sports-loving person. But at the same time with Sikkim, what personally I think to invest and bring it, like what I've invested in Siliguri or other places, becomes challenging in Sikkim. We had a tie-up with academy when United Sikkim was playing in the league, and that was the time I think a lot of the academy players got that exposure to compete with some of the best players across India, and one of the boy went on to play for Under-17 World Cup, Komal Thattal, during that time. And that was the same time when United Sikkim had a tie-up with Sports Academy, and he represented United Sikkim in Under-13 tournament, and that's where Federation Academy picked him up from there. And then within 2 years went on to play for Under-17 India. He was the first. So I think those kind of initiative has to be done. I think with Sikkim, what is happening is there's a huge interest with sports and football. Now we have to differentiate between the festival, because we take it everything as a festival. There's a football tournament in my village. It becomes a festival in my village in Tingitam with cultural program. That is great. But at the same time, we, as I said earlier, we need to have a parallel development programs going on with the schools in villages in different parts. And that is where I think we'll have to work on it, because I think we've got huge talent, just not in football, but other fields. Archery is one of them. Tarundeep has gone on to play for India in Olympics. And there are other sports. Boxing, I think, has got great future. So that is something which I think we can collaborate and work together for, making sure that football and other sports really improve.
We're running out of time, but one final question. Before that, You heard the story of United Sikkim that Bhaichung mentioned. If we have any corporate bigwigs.
And again, coming to United Sikkim, so when United Sikkim qualified for the I-League, we had only 1 or 2 Sikkimese footballers playing in the highest league in I-League. When United Sikkim qualified, we assigned 30-member players. Out of 30, 20 players were from Sikkim. So within a year, you had 16 to 20 players of Sikkimese players playing in the highest league. Today, ISL, I think we've got only 4 or 5 Sikkimese players playing. But once you have a team playing I-League and ISL, then your number of players playing in that highest league just goes up. And that is what, but again, to sustain it is a big challenge there.
Well, that's what my, request here was. If there are any corporate bigwigs, marketing or sales geniuses, maybe, touch base with Bhaichung after he's done. Maybe revive United Sikkim. Who knows, where from those 30 players we get even more. That answers the question of where do we get more Bhaichungs from. Final question, Bhaichung. Apart from the technical difficulties that you were facing and things that can be done better to make Sikkim a sporting hub, the Chief Minister was here. You said that he loves sport as well. If you had to send out a message to the people of Sikkim, to the Chief Minister, of things that can be done, maybe, I don't know, combine tourism with sports, various things that you could think of out of the box that could make Sikkim a sporting destination for the rest of the country?
I think if you're looking at future of Sikkim, apart from sports, obviously sports, I think we need to get a good structure right. I think Sikkimese people are very sports loving. We've got a great government that really encourages sports. But we should differentiate between sports, having just a festival for 1 week to 10 days, and have a parallel development program which is going on for a longer period of time, and getting that platform to compete and train with good coaches is very, very important. Second thing, few things. I think there are a lot of things which I feel we can do it in Sikkim, but I would say take 3 points from there for future of Sikkim. Not in sports, but other fields. I think first thing for Sikkim now going forward, I think we need to look into sustainable development. I just heard, Professor Lama sir saying about green Sikkim. I think that is where we need to go in. We can't spoil Sikkim, which is green, beautiful. In the name of development, we can't really destroy it. Today, sadly, there are 40 plus pharmaceutical companies coming in. We've got 30 plus universities in Sikkim. Sikkim is a 6.2 lakh people. It's very important that we bring in development on a very sustainable way. In the name of development, we can't destroy our forests, we can't destroy our culture, identity, which is very, very important. I think there's going to be huge influx. So I think that is where we need to really go and make sure that our development is through sustainable development. Another thing I would see is, I think Sikkim today, in terms of birth ratio, I think fertility rate, we are very, very low. We are just 1.1, which is one of the lowest in India. What scares us is because of fertility rate, for all the Sikkimese, we've got 3 communities, the Bhutia, Lepchas and Nepalese. For us in Sikkim, we've got the lowest fertility rate today in India. So what happens is we might start losing our culture and identity with that because demography is going to change, or through development, we have a lot of influx coming in. It's very important for any of us to make sure that our identity and culture is preserved. Within Sikkimese as well, if you look into Bhutia community, I think we've gone minus in terms of fertility rate. So that it is that bad. So I think that is where we need to make sure that our culture identity is saved. Respecting, obviously, country, everybody has to make sure that we are a proud Indian, but at the same time, also make sure that we are proud Sikkimese and respect and save our culture and identity, which is very, very important. Third is, I think through sports we can change, because Sikkim, again, has got a lot of great things. We are a very peaceful state, we are a green state, we are one of the most developed state. Per capita, we are number 1. But there are 1 or 2 negative sides to it, which is Sikkim is one of the highest in terms of suicide rate for over a decade now. It's been there for a very, very long time. And this is where we've really got to tackle and handle it well. And that can be done through, I think, sports programs. So no matter we are highest in per capita, we are such a developed state, but somewhere down the line, our youth today, I think, are committing suicide. And we are number 1 in India today in terms of suicide rate. And that is where that challenge is through sports or through different programs. We need to make sure that our youths are empowered. and they can stand and they can start working and not try and only make sure that they're spoon-feeded. So we need to make sure that their talent is utilized, and that can be done through sports. So these are a few things I think which we have to tackle. But otherwise, I think Sikkim has been one of the biggest example to a lot of states across India. And as everybody I've been hearing from morning, we are we are organic state. With organic, obviously, there are a lot of challenges that is coming, because I come from a farming background. Once we become organic, our data in Government of Sikkim and Government of India is our agriculture production has come down heavily. I did my schooling. My father did my schooling through cardamom cultivation. He used to, get cardamom, sell it, and pay our education. Today, cardamom, we were #1 production of cardamom, but somehow through some kind of thing, we're losing completely. So I think government will have to do a lot of research to bring back, agriculture. Through pharmaceutical, that has come so much. We've lost some of the best rice field, which is some of the most beautiful, paddy fields across Sikkim. So I think these are the things where we need to make sure our generation is focused in agriculture, which has been our main source, and tourism. That's where I think if we can have a sustainable development for Sikkim would be great.
All right, we're completely out of time, but these 3 points really sum up that Bhaichung is not just a sporting icon, but a great ambassador for the state of Sikkim, just the way he summed up all the problems that they're facing. Thank you so much, Bhaichung, for taking our time and speaking to us.